What's that, Professor? It's a can of Jim Beam iced tea, Charlie, and thanks to it I've discovered the secret of the Megacan, a metallic chemical that floats at the brim. It coats your tongue, acting as a catalyst and creating the illusion of a lemon. Ingenious! The Nobel Prize is surely ours! On this week's Megan's Megacan, Megan is displeased at the public cuddling of a property tycoon. The AfD decides it has to kick out at least one Nazi after all, and why Germany's spies can't do any more spying. Do it up.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Megan's Megacan. I'm Megan, and I'm here with, as always, the lovely Conrad Werner. Hello, Conrad.
Hello.
How are you today?
Good.
Good. And we're also here in partnership with Ex-Berliner magazine. And we're going to talk about some stuff that's happened this week. First, booze.
Yeah, thank God.
I've been leaving it too late in the last few episodes.
Yeah, we've been chatting too much at the beginning, and then we never.
Ridiculous.
And then we forget to
The
start
whole point
drinking.
of this is booze.
Yeah.
It's been quite summery over the last 2 days. A bit cloudier today than I thought. So, but still, I thought I'd get some summery kind of megas.
Okay.
And I've not put the 80% proof disinfectant on them this week.
Yeah, it was probably
I washed
wise.
them in your sink. Hopefully that was the problem last week. Though who knows, really. Both Jim Beam, both quite summery. Both I think we've had before and quite enjoyed. Your choice. Jim Beam Lime Splash or Jim Beam Iced Tea Lemon.
Oh, iced tea lemon, please.
Oh, okay. I don't mind either of these.
I've never had this one.
Oh,
This is totally new.
I like it. Now, my advice for you and the listeners with a Jim Beam iced tea lemon, don't be put off by the first few sips.
Right.
That's kind of just a mega thing, really, isn't it?
Yeah, there's often a kind of
You kind of have to stick with them.
put the effort in and they reward you.
Yes, like good wines, whiskies, and relationships.
Exactly.
I can't get mine open.
Cheers.
Jesus. Oh, God. Cheers.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, it's got a funny
Yeah, just like
beginning taste.
it'll be fine. I promise you.
Okay.
You sort of, and then the iced tea starts to come through. This lime splash is good. I can highly recommend it for when you're meeting another household in the park. Mind you, it seems like Corona's over by the looks of things out there.
Yeah, people aren't talking about it at all anymore, are they?
Oh, I feel like people are still talking about it. Surely, I don't know.
Well, I suppose so.
I don't know. I spend a large part of my time spraying disinfectant into teenagers' hands,
Do you?
making them wear masks these days. So,
Okay.
yeah, and they're doing a pretty good job.
Are they taking it seriously at school?
They're trying, but I don't know how long that's going to last once the novelty wears off. But we'll see what happens next semester. We haven't got that much longer of this one.
The novelty of having disinfectant on your
They don't like
face.
that, but
No.
it doesn't actually do very much apparently. The masks and the Abstand are the important things, but I kind of like my massive spray bottle.
Yeah, I can imagine that you can wield quite a lot of discipline with that.
Oh, it's quite exciting, yes.
You can go, come here, and then you have to.
Come here, I will spray you, is what I've started saying quite a lot. Don't think I won't.
Do you know who's not been keeping Abstand this week?
I'm aware, and as I said to you earlier, I am incandescent with rage.
Yeah, you're very
Partially
angry.
because I've watched 14-year-olds struggle not to hug their friends that they haven't seen for 10 weeks. And then, what do we see in the papers, Conrad? Tell us. Who's been hugging people with wild abandon?
Well, one Christian Lindner, the head of the FDP party, was photographed embracing with a real embrace. I mean, it wasn't just like, oh,
He was
see you then.
right in there. It wasn't like a, and then you have to retract and then do the elbow thing because you've forgotten.
No.
It was like a committed...
His arms all the way around one Steffen Gerpel.
His arms all the way around.
Mask down, his mask but down below his chin. He had a good old snuggle. was he was saying goodbye to Stefan Goepel, who is a businessman, a property tycoon in the city of Leipzig, and also, controversially, the honorary consul of the authoritarian regime of Belarus.
I'm not loving that job description.
No.
Nope.
Which means he's like a trade representative of Belarus in Germany. So when Belarusian investors and businessmen come over and want to spend some money, he schmoozes them around.
And then they all embrace and spread coronavirus, but it'll all be fine because they're rich. And they'll get the ventilators before everybody else. Lovely. No, this really, really incensed me. And I was thinking, are you just being like massively unfair? Because as Lindner said in his apology, that wasn't an apology.
Well, shall I tell you what his apology was?
Please.
He said, the spontaneous embrace as I was saying farewell was a mistake. That the kind of mistake that could happen amongst friends after an evening. At the end of an evening.
That's not an apology, Lindner. Honest to God, how do people... Anyway, and I was sort of thinking, I was like, Megan, are you being really unfair? Because I'm really trying to kind of... You know, people are human. He went on in the apology to say, like, at the end, you know, one remains a human or something. And I'm like, yeah, it's true. We all make mistakes. We've all made mistakes. You do things.
He probably had a couple as well.
Yeah, this is also difficult. And I don't believe that like politicians should be like have their careers completely destroyed or be completely lambasted for like terrible photographs that are taken of them out of context, like some falling out of a strip club or, you know, sitting with someone who's not their spouse and they're on their lap or something.
Yeah.
Like these are all kind of human mistakes and whatever. However, if there is a global pandemic and you are not one but two national representatives apparently of countries, and we've all been told like the one thing that we can't do is like hug each other, I think we can manage that. And if we get pissed on Belarus's dime and forget about it, then don't apologize by saying, oh, I'm only a human, you know, it happens. Sometimes you go out as soon as restaurants open up and you cram into a restaurant that was apparently too full anyway, and then you end up really going for it in a hug with this slightly dodgy character that everyone's like, why is he so connected to Belarus? Why has he got all this money? That's not a human thing to do, Christian.
No.
Don't try and don't taint humanity with that.
I mean, they've been friends for a while, apparently. And obviously it's in Goebbels' interest to maintain his friendship with this Lindner.
You feel like
chap.
Lindner can't really give... So Goebbels wants... Who's got the power in this relationship? Goebbels. No. Lindner?
Well, I think it's a kind of mutual, it's a symbiotic...
I thought you were maybe saying that Lindner somehow coerced into this hug. Like there wasn't kind of full... But no, he was...
No, I think they really love each other.
That's
I mean, their wives were both there, but I think he was having like a
really love each other.
Yeah.
And if you'd seen them all trying to keep 1.5 meters distance as I carried their classmate who can't come in because his dad's in a risk group, carried him in on a computer screen, and they all stood 1.5 meters apart from each other saying hello to him.
Yeah.
Fuck off, Lindner.
Well, so they just don't think that they...
Go and get caught with like a prostitute or something so I can be like, well, that's human. People do things. But like, just don't hug people during Corona times and then do crap apologies about it.
Yeah, but you can't... I mean, like the prostitute example, that wouldn't work either because you're not... Like, that would definitely be a bad thing to do at the moment.
But my point is we all do bad things. We have affairs, we do dodgy whatever... Like, we can't be perfect all of the time, but you cannot hug people.
No, I know, yeah.
during Corona if you are the leader of a political party. Like, you can do that. You really can.
I mean, like, someone who's definitely been keeping... he's very good at sticking to the rules, is old Markus Söder in Bavaria.
I am really... For someone who disagrees with Markus Söder on pretty much everything, I'm really loving his Corona work. I still haven't seen a picture of him
in his
Bavarian flag mask.
Oh, hang on. Well, there you go. I've got one right here.
Oh, he looks great.
This is him at a beer garden.
Outside, not hugging anyone.
Outside, not hugging anyone. And there you can see in the background, you can see his little assistant. I'm assuming his assistant because he's wearing the same clothes and also a Bavarian mask. His flunky.
I think that's probably just Munich. It's just everyone is dressed as Markus Söder.
And here is Markus Söder in a beer garden giving an interview with the Münchner Merkur newspaper, local newspaper. And obviously you can see all three people there are keeping a good distance.
Good distance away from each other. The barmaid who's got her dirndl on and mask.
Yeah. Anyway, the reason why I bring that up is because Markus Söder is tomorrow going to be hosting the first ever Zoom party conference in Germany ever. I don't know how Zoom is going to be able to cope with that technically, but I'm sure they've worked something out.
They will be. I was on a Zoom conference today with 310 people. How many people are going to be at that?
I don't know. No, probably about that many, maybe a few more. Anyway, it's the CSU is the main big party in Bavaria. Markus Söder is both the head of the CSU and the state premier of Bavaria at the moment. And he has been for about 2 years, taking over from Horst. Seehofer is his big rival. And now everyone has been talking about him being probably the next. He's like the favourite now. I would say he's the favourite to be the next chancellor candidate.
And he was also
for the CDU-CSU, which is the union parties.
Yes.
Although it's a long way to go, obviously, because the election's not till next year, and anything could happen. But yeah, so the rivals are all from the CDU. Obviously, they're all from North Rhine-Westphalia. Can you remember who they are?
I can, but I can't remember. There was the guy who's in... Is it North Rhine-Westphalia?
Yeah, there's...
There were very opposing approaches to lockdown. There was the lad who was like, get us out of this. And then Söder was like, no.
Yeah.
Lockdown.
Armin Laschet is
of course,
he's the state premier of North Rhine-Westphalia, and he's like also, he's like an old CDU heavyweight, a veteran of the party. Yes. And would be a close ally, previously a close ally of Merkel, and person who would
but they've
likely
clashed
to
over
be.
there.
Yeah, he's been a bit more fast and loose with the old lockdown measures, unlike Söder. And the other two candidates on this list are Norbert Röttgen, the kind of penfoldy chap.
Röttgen, I've heard of him. Yeah.
He has little glasses. Doesn't matter. And of course, Friedrich Merz. He's still got
Merz
his hat.
Is still in there. Of course he is.
Still the hat in the ring.
Ghost of Andy's past.
All three of them have declared their interest. Have declared that they want to be chancellor candidate. They're up with the idea. Markus Söder is biding his time and is still saying, "No, I am not available. I am very busy here as the state premier of Bavaria." He is a little bit. He's younger than all the other three, and he's only slightly younger than Röttgen, but he's significantly younger than the other two. So he has got a little bit of time on his side, so he could wait it out a little bit.
Okay.
But he is definitely the one politician who in Germany who's kind of made a little bit of more of an impression internationally, apart from Merkel, in the Corona times, because he's the one who he's the chairman at the moment of the state premier council. So they have they have a premier council where they discuss all the measures.
Group. He's the admin of the WhatsApp group.
He's the admin of the current WhatsApp group. So
that's a lot of boomers. That will be a nightmare of a WhatsApp group from what I'm getting these days. Sorry. Yes. Continue.
So they're all like, oh, and he's the one who was obviously the first to do the lockdown. Mm-hmm. He declared a state of emergency.
Well,
made
Bayern
very
had the
important.
first real kind of Ausbruch, didn't they, of corona?
Well, they were, obviously it's the place closest to Italy, and they had the biggest risk of people coming over very quickly and spreading it. So they did it very, very, very quickly. And now they've started to open the beer gardens again. And I think that he has definitely been like the one that people are like, wow. We're kind of like, he's like a guy who looks like he knows what he's doing, you know. And so
Does he?
people.
Do you think he does know what he's doing?
Well, no. I mean, you know,
Who knows?
he's struggling like everyone else.
Yes, but he's sort of doing a better job of struggling than.
Yes.
Yes.
I suppose so. Anyway,
Okay.
that's all I really wanted to say about him.
We'll wait and see. Maybe he'll announce it over Zoom.
He might say it on Zoom over the weekend. He probably won't. He has been saying already, though, that he's not so keen on all this giving out money to all these different industries and all these different groups. He said, like, the state can't just be there to give out money to people. We have to start putting a cap on these things.
Does he mean what kind of groups?
Well, just he thinks that, you know, he desperately doesn't want capitalism to end. You know, he wants the state to take responsibility but not just start giving out loads of money and privatizing everything. Not privatizing everything. What do you call it? Expropriating everything. And so he sort of said that this week.
So I'm not going to get on with Marcus Söder once the worst of coronavirus has passed, am I? No, right.
He's not. He's not like
already. I don't know why I hope about these things.
He's not a radical. I don't think anyone would describe him. He's an extremely ambitious politician, and he definitely knows what he's doing. And he really doesn't want. He wants the system to stay in place. He's like, you know, and the CSU in Bavaria represents the system. Like that's their ultimate message whenever they do anything. As long as the CSU is doing okay, Bavaria is doing okay. You know, like we'll keep you in.
Bavaria is very. I love Bavaria in terms of like going on a holiday, but it is very traditional.
Yeah, you know, they like the certain things.
People literally wear. I couldn't get over this the first time I was there. Like wear traditional dress.
When did you go there? You don't mean at the Oktoberfest?
No, I mean
like
just
generally?
like on a Sunday in like Regensburg. I'd be like, that lad's a lederhosen. He looks about 30. What's going on? That was kind of strange to me, but also lovely in a way. But yes, I don't think they're, like you said, open to much.
And he's like, and
change.
and Söder is like the most centre right of the centre right people. You know, he's like, we have to, we cannot pander to the far right, and we cannot pander to the far left. We are the democratic centre, and that is a bit different.
We are Volkswagen.
Yeah, we are Volkswagen.
I mean, we are the CSU.
The BMW, and you know,
BMW would be down there, would it?
And which is a bit unlike Seehofer was a bit more sort of we should just like keep.
He loves a bit of pandering to the far right, as in pandering possibly to some of the ideas maybe that he has in his own head.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, so there's that.
So there's that. We don't know what's happening
of
now. Speaking of which.
Speaking of the far right. Do you remember the AFD?
Oh. No, they've actually slipped my mind. It was joyous for about 35 seconds.
They've slipped quite a lot of people's minds. They're also slipping in the opinion polls in Germany.
You can't see, but I'm doing a little dance.
Doing a happy dance. Because they have been dithering a little bit about how to, kind of cope with what actually their policy is on the coronavirus. What's their
policy of corona?
What's their corona policy?
It's not. Right.
And
you'd love to be in those meetings, that Zoom call, wouldn't you? Who can we blame this on? What? No.
Well, at first they were, this is obviously because of immigrants being allowed into the country.
Yeah.
And so they were like, we have to close all the borders immediately to stop all the immigrants coming. And now they're much more, actually, a lot of our voters are in these anti-lockdown protests. And so now they're a little bit more saying, well, maybe we should open the borders again because we want to get back to normal because that's what our voters want.
Oh, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Little,
AFD.
A little bit, yeah.
This is what happens when you're trying to court the votes of...
Yeah. Speaking of... And what happened last week... I should have actually mentioned this last week. But anyway, I'll mention it now.
I mean...
They threw out a man called Andreas Kalbitz out of their party. And because he lied to the public, maybe he also lied to his own party leadership, but he lied to the public in any case about the fact that he used to be a member of a far right, a proper neo-Nazi group. They're called the... I just backed myself into a corner because I just said called the, and then I don't even know.
I don't know how to finish this sentence.
They're the nationalist youth.
Oh God.
The Heimattreue Deutsche Jugend.
That sounds terrifying. Heimattreue.
Heimattreue, so loyal to the Heimat.
No.
And he said, and this group was subsequently they were banned in 2009 as like an anti-constitutional group. He was a member in the 90s as a youth, and he always denied being a member. He said, I went to a meeting once, but I was never a member. And the Verfassungsschutz basically released a report saying he was actually a member, and he's been going to a few meetings since then as well. And the AFD council, because it's in there, the parties have like rules about what you can and can't be when you join the party. And one of the rules is you can't be a former member of a banned group. So even the AFD said, like, if you're a former member of this banned group, you can't be a member of the AFD.
So this is for all parties, or this is just the AFD?
Well, every party has a set of rules.
These are one of these things. It's like teenagers and young, like they do really dumb stuff.
Yeah, but
then
he
it's
was
a bit
more
weird
than
with the AfD, and like, who exactly do you think you're going to be attracting into your party?
Well, exactly.
Like, you have a racist far right party, and you're like.
But this guy, there's the thing about this guy, Andreas Kalbitz, is that, I mean, you shouldn't really judge people by their appearance, but if you do look at him, he does look a little bit like he watched Raiders of the Lost Ark when he was 10, and he really loved that Nazi whose face melted. That was his favourite character because he's got like the little wiry glasses, and he just looks like, you'd look at him and you think he probably has right-wing opinions. But his appearance does suggest that. Even though obviously you shouldn't.
Who do the AfD? And then I just feel I'm a bit critical.
Look, do you want to see his face?
Like, why?
That's him.
Oh,
he does.
Oh yeah, he's also got a skinhead. I mean, he's wearing a suit, but you put a different kind
of. And he doesn't actually have a Hitler moustache, but he's got like a shadow there. Anyway.
Oh Lord.
Anyway,
okay, so he's been kicked out.
He's been kicked out, but this guy is not. He's not nobody. He is the head of the AFD in Brandenburg. He's the most important person in Brandenburg. And he's actually a regional leader, and the AFD in Brandenburg is the second biggest party. They got nearly 25% of the vote in the last year's election there. So he was important in the party. And not only that, he was in the National Leadership Council. They have like a council where they had to decide last week. And he was at the meeting in which he himself was expelled. So they had a leadership council, and there were like 12 or 13 people on it. And he was sitting Zoom.
There. In his little tile gallery view, or was this in person? This is what?
I don't know if it was in. He was entitled to be at the meeting as a member of the leadership council, and they voted him out, and it was very close. The vote. It came out 6-5 against him with 2 abstentions. Presumably, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he abstained. I don't know. Anyway. Or 1 abstention? I can't remember the rules. Anyway, the point is it was very close, and he got kicked out. 2 people who voted for him were Alice Weidel and Alexander Gauland.
Yeah.
2 of the other most important people in the AfD.
Yeah.
And the person who voted against him was the other co-leader, Jörg Meuthen, who is now considered like, oh, he's like the more moderate one in the AFD because he wanted to kick this guy out. But it is a huge problem for the AFD because like Kalbitz and Björn Höcke, they were obviously really good friends. They're both members of the Wing, the so-called Wing, which is this hardcore group, which has also been disbanded now because the Verfassungsschutz that we're going to put them on our watch list. Anyway, they like those people are kind of represent quite a large part of the AFD. Some people say up to 40% of the AFD would consider themselves supporters of the Wing, and so
wow,
like you can't kick out 40% of your own party, but they have kicked out this Andreas Kalbitz, who was probably the second most famous
this again
member.
Comes back to our like sort of perpetual issue with the AfD, and like how do you have like a essentially non-democratic right-wing racist party like, and then like where do you draw the line? Like when are you too Nazi for the AfD? It's ludicrous. Like it I almost feel sorry for this lad. Like if he wants to have a political career, where else is he going to go? They should be letting him in. You can't.
Actually, the NPD.
Are they allowed?
The NPD are allowed, yeah.
Yeah,
They always
not.
try
Like,
and ban them.
if you're ambitious, the AfD is doing quite well.
Yeah, and he's like,
Of
and
course
he's
you were
doing
in a
very
neo-Nazi group when you were a teenager, because now you're an AfD politician. That's like a completely logical career arc. I'm not saying it's okay. I think people should be doing it. But it just seems like this arbitrary, the AfD are really cleaning house because they're going to disband the Wing. And like...
Well, yeah, and the other thing is that he might get this decision overturned because he's appealing it in court, and B, he still has like big allies in the party. Also, his friends in the Brandenburg State Parliament, because he was also the parliamentary leader in the Brandenburg State Parliament of the AfD, they have he's no longer the parliamentary leader, but they won't kick him out of the group, of the little faction they have in the parliament. So he's still like he's not just an independent in that parliament anymore. He's still in the AfD group, which makes a difference. Yeah, he's confident. I think what will happen is that Jörg Meuthen will leave, and the party will split. And this is what's always happened in the history of the AfD, is that there's a battle between the moderates and the extremists, and the extremists up to now have always won. So first, Bernd, do you remember there's a guy called Bernd Lucke? He was one of the original founders.
When did the AfD...
Like 2013.
Ah, okay. I was like...
Yeah.
Okay.
They only just started. And they were originally just like an anti-Europe party. They weren't really necessarily anti-immigrant, and they didn't really like the EU.
And yet somehow there's just so much overlap. If you just hate everyone for no real reason other than they're other.
Well, Bernd Lucke, he started the party. He's like an academic. He was just against the Euro bonds and all this other stuff. He was a little bit boring and academic, and he left after this became a bit more right wing. And Frauke Petry, do you remember Frauke Petry?
No, you're talking. Were we doing this podcast? Because if it was in the time before that, then no. Obviously, okay. I haven't a fucking clue.
All right. Well, this is like 2015 about. So she took over.
Okay.
And then she was ousted by Alexander Gauland and Alice Weidel. And she's now an independent in Saxony, and she's nothing now. She's in a party called the Die Blaue Partei, which no one's heard of. But she was one of the few. So you're saying they keep splitting, and the extremists keep winning. And I think that's what's probably going to happen in the next few months, is that Jörg Meuthen is going to be kicked out, Alice Weidel and Gauland will take over again, and Kalbitz will come back, and they'll just find a way of rehabilitating him. They can do that denazification program that was so wildly successful following the Second World War. For example, yeah. They can make him sit in a meeting in a rehab. There must be a video or something, yes. Go to rehab. He could go on a denazification group and maybe grow some hair. I think that's a key part of this. Yeah. I don't know, or gift different glasses at least. Like, someone should just say get
We're
different
done
glasses.
with tiny, tiny wire-rimmed glasses, lads, and shaved heads. Stop it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So yeah. Do you want to hear some other news?
Yeah. I'm quite enjoying this, by which I mean I am quite enjoying my Megacan.
Have you noticed that I've actually done some research this week, and
Yeah.
I actually have something to talk about?
You do usually do that. Like, last week
Yeah.
was just a bit of an anomaly.
I know.
It's the one time that our, like, screw it, let's just start and it'll come to us policy really, really was shown up for the sort of slightly foolhardy approach that it is.
Okay.
But anyway,
Yeah. We let the mask slip.
we did, even more than usual. Making the mask slip, I shouldn't have been so hard
I'm very
on it,
much
isn't it?
enjoying this iced tea. I see what you mean now.
Yeah, you have to get into it, and then like the tea flavor comes out. I can really recommend this Jim Beam Lime Splash. It's nice and fresh.
I think could it be that in a Megacan that the chemicals often float to the top, and that you have like a lot of the chemically bits, the E numbers all at the top, and then when you get down to it, it's like the nice bit. It's like the sediment.
It's either that or your taste buds sort of become inured to it.
Oh yeah, they kind of coat
They
your
just kind of
tongue.
coat your tongue, and you get that fur on your teeth. I don't think chemicals float, but I'm not a scientist. I'm not a science person. Get Angela on. Be like, that is my dream. That is my life's mission. Is to get Angela onto this and get her a Megacan.
She'd probably love Megacan.
She would. That little diamond, I was looking at it today on Twitter. That is a mega shaped diamond. Look.
Yeah, perfect. You could just
We can take a picture of this and put. Oh, we've got Twitter now, guys. You can follow us.
You could just slot a Megacan into that diamond.
I think that's what she's hoping, that one of us are going to do that.
Okay.
You've got more access. Can you imagine if you got arrested trying to put a Megacan into Merkel's par diamond? That sounded a bit gross. Sorry, Merkel. Sorry, Andrew.
Yeah.
Did you have more news?
There's a little bit more news. Well, it's actually quite a lot of more news because it involves the BND. Do you know who the BND are?
No.
That is the Bundesnachrichtendienst, and they are basically the CIA of Germany.
Okay.
Spies. They are spies.
Ooh.
Yeah.
How exciting.
And they are also quite powerful spies because they are in Germany, and that means they have access to what the biggest internet network thing, like, what do you call it, a Knotenpunkt? What do you call it, like the hub, like one of the biggest network hubs in the world. It's in Frankfurt.
I think we've talked about this before, yeah, because we also didn't know the word for it then.
It's called Internet Exchange Point. That's the official name of it, and it's called the Deutsche Commercial Internet Exchange, DE6. It's in Frankfurt, and pretty much every single email or text message goes through this point in Germany, and even ones from France and Russia and other places that if there's something's being sent via the internet towards America from Russia or from the Middle East.
Oh, so we've got another
We'll go
one of
through
these
these
things,
things,
like with the drones in Rammstein.
Well, it's just an internet thing. And the thing is, the BND has access to it because it's in Germany. So they can tap in. And the Spiegel and the Bayerische Rundfunk, they did an investigation. And they figured out that the BND has essentially access to 1.2 trillion communications per day. Text messages.
Jeez, that just sounds like a nightmare.
That's a lot of internet that they can look at.
I hate it when you haven't looked at WhatsApp for a while and they're like 68 unread messages. Those lads must be, dear God.
And what has happened this week is that the Constitutional Court, which is the highest court in Germany, in Karlsruhe, have decided that the German Constitution, which concludes your right to privacy, is so one of the articles, Article 10 of the Constitution of Germany, is the privacy of your communications. Your letters, your text messages, your phone calls are private.
Yes.
That is in the Constitution.
And it's a very...
Yeah.
It is something that I now realise interacting with people in the UK and Ireland and at home. Like, I've become much more German about that. I'm like, if someone texts me and says like, oh, I got your number from so-and-so, I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, it's in other constitutions as well.
It is, but I think the German, like, it's a very, like, Datenschutz and people's protection of all that is very important, I think, to the German psyche.
So yeah, well, cause because of Stasi and all that. But
well, yeah, I mean they've got backstory.
And this German Constitutional Court decided that this applies not only to German people in Germany, it also applies to non-German people not in Germany. In other words, everyone in the whole world is covered by the German Constitution.
Well, herzlichen Glückwunsch, Leute. Willkommen in Deutschland.
Which means, they said, that the BND can't just spy on people willy-nilly, even if they're not German people and they're not in Germany. They have to have a reason. You have to have a reason. You have to have a suspicion. You have to have you have to think that they're
a bit like having a search warrant.
Yes.
Oh.
You have to think that they're a terrorist, or you think that it has to be a targeted surveillance thing, and they have to get permission to spy on people. That is quite a big thing. That is quite a big decision for them to make. And it obviously because the BND has just been doing this for years.
Yeah.
They've been spying on everyone for years because that's what they do, because that's what spies are supposed to do, is spy on everyone. And tell me if I'm being too basic.
No. This is exactly, you're pitching this exactly right. I just missed my mouth a bit with my Megacan over here, so please explain to me in very basic terms.
So they said, oh, well, that's a bit of a problem because we've been doing this for years.
Because we're spies. We're going to need to be doing some spying over here.
And the other thing that the court said, that the law which governs this is just called the BND law, which the government has to make. That has to be changed in the next 2 years now to make it fit with the Constitution. And it also has to include a provision which specifically protects the work of lawyers and journalists, because they need to protect their sources, or their clients,
Ooh.
So because
this is really interesting.
Yeah, well, one of the people who who appealed against the law and said it was unconstitutional was an Azerbaijani journalist called Kadia Ismailova, winner of the Alternative Nobel Prize in 2017. She said that she was one of the people because Azerbaijan, like Belarus, we mentioned earlier, is a big dictatorship, and she's been threatened by the authorities there. And Germany does business with Azerbaijan. Even though she's not a German journalist, she said that it is important for me to be able to, protect my privacy. Yeah. And because the other thing about this law is that it's not just about what Germany finds out; it's what it shares with other intelligence agencies.
Yeah.
So any partner in the world could theoretically have access to Germany's intelligence.
Yeah, we've all seen these films. They're in TV shows. They're all trading off USB sticks with everything.
Like in Berlin Station.
I love that show. My goodness. Listeners, if you've not watched Berlin Station, it's on Netflix. It's great. By which I mean, it's very entertaining. Get to see Reese Ifans doing the worst German you've ever heard in your entire life. It is beautiful.
Well, that's all about spies, isn't it?
It is all about spies, and this was where a lot of my information is coming from.
Right.
But to be honest, I have also listened to actual podcasts and stuff about how these and it is all wheeling and dealing, and we're going to make a deal with you, and we're whatever. So I can understand that people wouldn't necessarily want this information willy-nilly being looked at by the BNT.
Yeah. So now they've got to change something, and the court also said this is not does not conform with press freedom laws, and so that's a bit of it's quite a big issue.
Because I can imagine the spies aren't very happy.
No, they must be seething quietly in their offices, angry about things. So that's a bit of good news this week for those who value their constitutional rights.
Yeah, and everyone gets to be covered by it. Congratulations, everyone.
Yeah,
You all get to become really squirrely about Datenschutz.
Well, it's not just that. It's also because the way the court said it, it also means that if the German army does something abroad, for example, gets into a fight abroad, it has to be aware that everyone it is potentially fighting is covered by the German constitution, because it means that anything that a German representative does abroad, like the army is, they have to know that they can't just, for example, just drone someone to death, because the German army is buying drones, by the way. They're thinking about buying drones. They can't just drone someone to death.
Can I stop drones? What are drones good for?
Like following people taking their dogs for a walk in the moors. That's what's happening in England. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, that is
that's interesting, isn't it?
Very interesting. Yes.
So the army can't just kill people willy-nilly without having a reason for it. They can't, because of this decision this week. So, there's that.
Wow.
Right, that's it. That's all the news.
That's excellent. I've still even got a little bit of Megacan left.
Yeah.
What would you rate your Jim Beam iced tea lemon?
I'd give this a solid 4 out of 5.
Yes, I would do the same for the Jim Beam lime splash, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a gin and tonic, but it's good. And it's like not too, that like really synthetic lime flavor that you get, like that cordial, which is sometimes quite delicious if you're a bit hungover and you get it in a big pint of water in a pub on the Isles. It's not too synthetic-y. It almost feels like there's a lime in here.
It could a lime was passed through that drink at some point.
I don't think so. I think we'd be lucky if a lime sort of went past the window of the factory and somebody else is shopping. They walk past the Jim Beam factory.
Well, I quite like because I quite like lemon tea in real life.
Oh, lemon iced tea is delicious.
Yeah, and just adding a bit of whiskey seems like a recipe for success.
Well, ain't that a slogan for life?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Conrad. This felt like a return to some kind of normality. We've talked a bit about Corona, but we've also talked about how much I dislike Christian Lindner, the AfD, and spies are always fun to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like we've got a professional podcast that people who aren't our friends listen to.
Yes, apparently that is a thing.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much. And there have been some people saying nice things about us on Facebook groups and stuff this week. Thank you to those people. We are both amazed, astounded, and grateful.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very excited. Follow us on Twitter.
Please follow us on Twitter. I'm learning how to work it again. All right. Have a lovely week, everybody. Thank you very much, Conrad.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.